Up to this week's midterm elections, there are a lot of celebrities out there campaigning for Democratic candidates all over the country. You probably saw them, actors, singers, TikTok personalities, all doing their part for the Democratic Party. You probably weren't surprised by this. It's normal. Pop culture figures always support Democrats. Every single one of them. But have you ever wondered why all of these supposedly creative people reach exactly the same conclusion every time? They're all on the same page. How could that happen? It's an interesting question. We don't know the answer, but you should consider what happened when one of the most famous singers in the world broke with the herd. On November 19th, 2016, a week and a half after Donald Trump won the presidential election, Kanye West, now known as Ye, held a concert in Sacramento. Most people in the audience were, of course, young people and presumably Hillary Clinton voters and presumably deeply disappointed by her loss a week and a half before. So in the middle of the show, West stopped performing and started talking about politics. Google lied to you, he said, by suggesting to its users that Hillary was going to win. Quote, Facebook lied to you. I'm not here to massage you with a fake truth telling you that Hillary's going to win over and over and over. You were lied to by Google. You were lied to by Mark Zuckerberg. Middle America, West continued, showed you how they felt. Well, at this point, some of the audience began to boo, but West kept going. He complimented Donald Trump repeatedly. At one point, he used the phrase, "Make America great again." It was, to put it mildly, not the kind of thing you normally hear at a rap concert. And then, 2 days later, Kanye West was in the hospital. Well, at the house of his family's exercise trainer, a man called Harley Pasternak, West apparently suffered some kind of mental break. Pasternak called an ambulance to pick him up. West was taken away, and then he was sedated with at least 7 different psychiatric medications, including benzodiazepines, lithium, sleeping pills, and olanzapine. News reports suggested that West had experienced a profound psychiatric episode. He'd gone completely off the deep end. He'd gone crazy, and they've been saying that ever since. West, over time, though, told a very different story. In his telling, after what he'd said on stage in Sacramento, Harley Pasternak was trying to shut him up. Pasternak, he said, was not simply a trainer, but instead an agent of ideological control. Pasternak's job was to keep West from straying from the script, and he's willing to use powerful drugs to do it. That's what he said. But very few people took that claim seriously. In fact, it was exactly the kind of thing a crazy person would say. My trainer drugged me into submission. He's trying to make me into a zombie. Right. Sure he did. Have another olanzapine shot, Kanye. You look tired. So that's where the story stood until the other day. Nobody believed Kanye West. Then West posted something remarkable on Twitter, which for some reason virtually all of American media ignored, which is odd because media outlets are not usually in the business of ignoring remarkable things, but they did. And what he posted was a picture of a text exchange that he had had with Harley Pasternak. Pasternak was explaining that West had better stop saying, quote, crazy stuff. In other words, he'd better get back on script, or else he would be severely punished. Quote, second option, if you don't shut up, quote, I have you institutionalized again, where they medicate the crap out of you, and you go back to zombie land forever. Play date with the kids just won't be the same. End quote. Try if you can to imagine a more sinister threat than that, a more chilling threat than that. Do what I say or I will turn your brain to mush. I will destroy your relationship with your own children. I will send you back to, quote, zombie land forever. Effectively, I'll kill you. Now, keep in mind, this is from West's, quote, trainer, not his physician. This is the guy he'd hired to help him do squats. A trainer? Really? Did they talk like that at your gym? Probably not. So what's going on here exactly? Well, according to his bio, Harley Pasternak, who was not denied writing these texts, once worked for the Canadian military, where he participated in experiments that measured the effect of various drugs on the human mind. Is that training relevant to this story? We don't know. We do know that based on this text exchange, which again, Harley Pasternak has not said is untrue or fake, on the basis of that, law enforcement agencies definitely ought to be looking very closely at Harley Pasternak, who, by the way, apparently has dozens of other celebrity clients, some of whom seem to be out there campaigning. Based on these texts, this looks like a crime. Why is no one investigating it? The fact that no one is investigating it tells you a lot.
Advisor, and the area that I was interested in was how drugs and food affect muscular performance And
Or when you say drugs, are that like performance-enhancing drugs, or are they
all
just
kinds of drugs.
Right. Okay.
So working for the military, I wasn't governed by the same laws that the typical person was. So I could look at the impact of certain drugs that are not everyday things. So we looked at a drug called modafinil, which was for narcoleptics. So if you give a soldier this drug, how long could they stay awake for without having any health detriment?
Is that used now as one of these brain drugs? I've heard the name before somewhere.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Modafinil, it will keep you awake, but it's not a stimulant.
Really?
So if a special forces person has to stay awake for 3 nights waiting for the right opportunity to do whatever they have to do, we could give them modafinil and it would keep them alert. I did research on a drug called acetazolamide, which is for use at high altitude so you don't get altitude sickness.
Then let's have a conversation. But you ain't gonna send Harley Pasternak, Puff Daddy, Meek Mills, Kim Kardashian, none of the usual suspects and get me to stop talking. You're going to have to take my life. I don't care if you Black Mirror me. I don't care if you do some of the alternative, what the thing was, show me talking, saying somebody didn't say. I don't care if you have me fucking a goat on camera. I don't care what you do. You're going to have, yeah. And by the way, and if you take my life, there's gonna be some college kid, some young Ye, some young Pac, that's gonna even go harder. It's gonna, y'all thought George Floyd was gonna send it up. If you took my life right now, you're gonna see something you never saw. So we might as well have a conversation.
Hockey player, and I spent 10 years in university. I did degrees in nutrition and exercise physiology. I went on to graduate school where I was a nutrition scientist for the military. I got recruited by the Department of National Defense, where I was an exercise and